You know, it was one of those Montana winters that hits like a freight trains now, piling up so fast you could barely see your own hand in front of your face. Winds howling like angry ghosts, and the whole world just shutting down around you. I remember that night clear as day. Even though it's been years now, I was alone in my old ranch house out on the edge of Willow Creek. Just me and my little boy, Tommy, who's 7 at the time, tucked away in his room with his stuffed bear, dreaming whatever kids dream when the storm's raging outside. And then bam comes this thunderous pounding on the door, shaking the whole frame, followed by the growl of engines cutting through the blizzard, a dozen of them at least, revving and then dying out into that eerie silence that makes your skin crawl. My name's Sarah Jenkins, and back then, after losing my husband Mark to that damn logging accident 2 years prior, I was holding things together by a thread running the small cattle spread he'd left me, scraping by on what the land gave and what the town didn't take in gossip or sidelong glances. That knock. It wasn't some neighbor checking in. No. Peering through the frost-cracked window, I saw them 12 burly figures on massive choppers, leather jackets crusted with ice, patches gleaming under the porch light that said Iron Reapers, the kind of biker crew the folks in town whispered about like they were the devil's own entourage, stories of bar fights, road rage, and God knows what else floating around like bad smoke. My heart slammed against my ribs. Should I grab Tommy and bolt for the basement, barricade us in with the canned goods, and pray they move on? But the storm was a beast, roads buried under 3 feet of white hell, no way out for anyone, and that voice boomed through the gale. Ma'am, we're freezing out here, roads are gone. Just need a spot to thaw till dawn. Fear clawed at me. Memories of Mark's words echoing, didn't let the world harden you, Sarah, but damn if it wasn't trying. With me standing there, hand on the latch, thinking of Tommy's innocent face, the what-ifs piling up like the drifts outside. I yanked that door open anyway, wind blasting in like a slap, snow swirling into the warm kitchen where the stew pot was still simmering from our meager dinner. They filed in, these giants in boots and bandanas, steam rising off their gear, and the one in front, big guy with a salt and pepper beard, eyes sharp as knives but tired, real tired, pulled down his scarf and said, "I'm Jax Harlan, and we ain't here for trouble, just heat." I stood my ground, voice steadier than I felt. "Fine, but this is my house, my boy's asleep down the hall, one wrong look, and you're back in that blizzard, understand?" They nodded, almost solemn, shedding jackets by the fire, and as I ladled out what little stew I had left, potatoes, carrots, a bit of beef stretched thin, the room filled with this awkward quiet, these rough men suddenly looking like lost boys, rubbing raw hands together, one even ducking his head under the low beam like he was embarrassed by his own size. It wasn't what I expected, you know? I'd braced for snarls, demands, maybe worse, but instead, there's this young one, Gabe. Tattoos snaking up his neck, taking his bowl with a mumbled, "Thank you, ma'am," his voice cracking like he hadn't heard kindness in ages, and slowly the ice broke, literal and not, with low chuckles over a spilled spoon, one pulling out a beat-up harmonica and blowing a tune that was rough around the edges but somehow soothing, like an old lullaby from the road. Tommy stirred then, peeking out wide-eyed, and Jax noticed, lowering his gravelly tone near my chair. "Kids got your eyes, brave ones." I almost smiled, despite everything, watching them eat like it was a feast, sharing stories and whispers about endless highways, lost brothers, the kind of life that hardens you because the world won't give you a break in that flickering firelight. I felt this crack in my fear, wondering if the town's tales were just shadows, exaggerated by folks who never looked closer. But then the sheriff rolled up, Elena Vargas, tough as nails, her deputy trailing with a flashlight beam, cutting the snow, banging on the door, eyes narrowing as she scanned the room. "Sarah, you okay? Roads are impassable, but these are guests." Tension spiked, the Reapers stiffening, but Jax met her gaze cool. "Just passing through. Sheriff, no laws broken here." She lingered, radio crackling, finally tipping her hat with a warning glance my way. "Till morning, then keep it clean." As she crunched away, the air eased, and that night stretched on, storm clawing at the walls, but inside it was almost peaceful, these outcasts revealing bits of themselves, a scar from a wreck that should have killed one, a faded photo of a daughter another hadn't seen in years, in me, knitting idly, realizing maybe fear was the real outlaw, stealing chances for something real. Come dawn, the world was a blanket of white, silent and sharp, and I woke to muffled sounds outside peeking out. There they were, pushing their bikes quietly down the drive, not revving to wake Tommy. Leaving the porch swept clean, woodpile res-tacked higher than before, even the gate latch fixed where the wind had bent it. Jax turned, helmet in hand. Didn't want to disturb, thanks for the roof, Sarah. Gabe slipped an envelope on the rail. For the meal, but I pushed it back, no need, and Jax insisted, firm but kind. It's respect, not charity. They rolled out slow, engines growling to life like a farewell roar, and inside that envelope? Cash, sure, but a note too. Doors slam on us everywhere you opened yours. It hit me then, standing barefoot in the cold. Tears pricking kindness wasn't weakness. It was a quiet rebellion. But oh, the town didn't see it that way. Willow Creek, with its tight-knit cliques and old grudges, where my land bordered the mayor's expansion plans, and folks like Councilman Harlano, relation to Jax, thank God, had been eyeing my acres for a new development, whispering I was too fragile to hold it alone since Mark's death. I drove in for supplies, slush splashing under the tires, and stepped into Betty's cafe. The bell jingling like an alarm chatter died, eyes swiveling, and Betty froze mid-pour. Sarah, storm hit you hard? Before I could nod, Harlan boomed from his booth, voice dripping authority. Heard you played hostess to those iron reapper criminals. The lot of 'em. Putting your boy at risk for what? A thrill. The room buzzed, a woman gasping. Tell us it ain't true. And I felt the heat rise, but kept cool. They were freezing. Harlan reckless would have been letting him die out there. He leaned in, smug and sharp. This town's got standards. Sarah, associating with trash like that? Don't expect favors when your fence needs mending or your taxes come due. It stung. The implication cleared, been pushing to buy me out cheap, using the community's HOA-like grip to isolate widows like me, and now this gave him ammo, painting me as reckless to justify his land grab. Whispers followed me everywhere, church pews rustling with judgment, the feed store going silent as I loaded sacks. Even my neighbor Lila showing up that evening, shawl clutched tight. Sarah, I worried for you after Mark, but inviting wolves in. What if they turned? I poured tea, hiding the ache. They didn't, they were just men, cold and grateful. But she pressed. Folks say you're endangering us all, tying the town to their reputation. Doubt crept in that night, fire crackling as I sat alone, Tommy asleep, wondering if I'd invited more storm than the blizzard had. My mercy marked me as a fool, giving Harlan leverage to pressure me off my land, where Mark's ashes were scattered. Then came the rumble deep in the night, vibrations shaking the panes, headlights piercing the dark like an army of stars descending, not 12 this time, but 80, maybe more. Bikes lining the drive to the road, engines idling in perfect sync. I flung open the door, wind biting my nightgown, and Jax dismounted, snow crunching. You sheltered 12 of our snow, the whole chapter's here to return the favor. My breath caught respect, he called it, and what followed was like a dream, or maybe a movie scene you'd replay. These hardened riders, silent and precise, shoveling my paths clear, chopping and stacking wood till the pile towered, fixing the barn roof where leaks had plagued me, even mending the old swing Mark built for Tommy, their rough hands working with a gentleness that belied the patches on their backs. Gabe stepped up, folding his bandana at my feet. A reminder, don't forget. And one by one, they left tokens, gloves, patches, symbols of their world, vows of loyalty laid on my steps like offerings. Tears blurred my vision. You didn't have to, but Jax shook his head. We protect our own end now. That's you. Up the road, lanterns flickered as neighbors gawked, and Harlan screeched in on his truck, slamming the door. This end's now disgraceful, bringing this rabble here. But he froze, jaw slack, seeing outlaws not wrecking but rebuilding, their discipline turning his words to dust. I met his glare. Disgrace was your kind turning backs on people. Mine opened a door. He sputtered, red-faced, but the townsfolk behind him shifted, whispers turning from fear to wonder. Harlan's power play crumbling as his motive showed jealousy over land he couldn't bully from a weak widow, now exposed in the glow of 80 headlights. Elena had been watching from her cruiser at the lane's end, stepping out slow, Not the chaos I expected order, actually. Tommy darted forward then, clutching a crayon sketch a rugged mountain with a tiny house at the base, beams of light shooting out. For you, mister, so you remember our fire. Jax knelt, taking it like treasure, voice soft. Kid, I won't ever forget. Engines revved in salute, the convoy rolling out like thunder fading into dawn, leaving my ranch transformed fences straight, paths clear, and me, standing there with tokens in hand. Feeling for the first time since Mark that I wasn't fighting alone. In the weeks that followed, Willow Creek Changita photo pinned at Betty showed me, Tommy, and Jax with that drawing, under a note. Sometimes light comes from the shadows. Some folks still grumbled, Harlan slinking back with his tail between his legs, his land scheme stalled by the community's new eyes, but others stopped by with pies, admitting maybe they'd judged too quick. For me, it was proof kindness isn't naive. It's a force that multiplies, turning strangers into shields. But here's the thing that still nags. In a world quick to label, was I lucky or reckless? Could one wrong night have gone south, validating the fears? Or does mercy always win out, even against the odds? What do you think? Drop a comment below. Was Sarah right to open that door? Or should caution trump compassion? Share your take on community judgments, land grabs, or those moments when stereotypes shatter. Let's get the debate going. And if this hit home, hit subscribe, bell on, and tell me your town so I know how far this tale's traveling. Remember, one open door can light up the darkest night.